that's now we're recording. It's 7 o'clock and we'll start the meeting of the Clintonville Area Commission Zoning and Variance Committee. Do I have any objections to the agenda? Unanimously approved without objection. Let's see, approve agenda. Consider the draft minutes from previous meeting. Let me turn this on. Consider draft minutes from the previous meeting. Does anyone have any corrections? If not, do I have a motion to approve? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Approved 8-0. Now we're on to the variance agenda. The first item on the agenda is down, up. I think I have these all in order here. First is BZA 24138, 245 Lakeview Avenue, to convert a detached garage into an attached garage. The applicant seeks variances to the east side minimum side yard from 3 feet to 0 feet and the west side yard from 3 feet to 1.5 feet. The total, and to have the total side yard from 7.06 to 1.5 feet. We have the applicant here. If you could introduce yourself and then you have the floor.
Stay here, go up there.
Be off to the side a little bit.
Off to the side?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. You don't need to be on camera.
Okay. So good evening. My name is Casey Goff. I live at 245 East Lakeview Avenue. We are applying for 2 variances to put in a garage addition with a living space above it, and then it'll attach to the current house with a 4 seasons room. So with that said, is there anything else you want me to add? Or you just want me to go through mine?
Do you have, what do you, just explain why you need these variances?
That's part. Yep.
And if you want me to move to something different, tell me.
So with our property, so we live on a corner property. It backs up to Calumet Street and Lakeview Avenue. So the property is very long, but it's also not as wide. So there's a picture of our site survey that we recently had done. So you can kind of see as we go back towards the back yard there, it gets narrower and narrower. So the variances we are applying for, like Steven said, would be the side yard variance from 3 feet to 0 feet, and then the west side yard from 3 feet to 1.5 feet, which would be the Calumet side. We're doing this the main reason is to provide more living space for our growing family. When my wife and I bought the house back in 2017, it was just us 2. We now have 2 kids. We absolutely love Clintonville neighborhood. We love our neighbors. And with that growing family, we are quickly outgrowing our living space. So to do this addition, we want to provide security, safety. With the house, we are the only house around our neighbors who do not have a garage currently. A few of our neighbors back up to an alleyway. With us being on that corner lot, we actually do not have an alleyway that runs behind our property. So we would have to come in off of Calumet Street, which we currently do have a curb cut there and a concrete drive pad. So there wouldn't be any disruption to traffic flow. We're not doing a new curb cut for this garage addition. But the main reason is to provide more living space for our family. The living space above the garage would provide, whether it's a master suite down the road, but provide space for us to grow into the house and the property without us moving away. And the big main reason is to stay within our budget. If we would have to move away from the area, the space that we would need would be way over our budget. I can pause there for any questions. I've got a few more things, but don't want to say too much all at once.
Okay. Well, then we've got the commission. Go ahead. No, you can speak first.
So you just want me to cover everything?
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is my first time.
Well, what
so-
can you explain why you need these, you're saying you need the variances because,
So the variance is, yeah, so we would need the variance for the east and the west property line. So you can see on there, the dimensions of the garage that we would like to do is a 20 by 26. And then, again, these are rough dimensions. We're trying to go through the variance and see if we can get those approved before we go and have actual architect come in and do designs for this property. We want to spend money on architect and designs if we don't know that this isn't going to get approved. So to do the dimensions that we would like to do with the living space above, we would need variances for the east property setback and the west property setback. So again, our house is kind of unique. The existing foundation on the east property line is actually already off out of code based on the site property map. So we would want to continue that foundation line on the east property line to line up with the garage. That would put us over that 3-foot setback. So we're applying for the variance on that east property line. Just a little bit about our current living condition. We do have 2 regular sized bedrooms upstairs. Our youngest is actually when we bought the house in 2017, they considered it a bedroom. It does not have a closet. The room is only a 9 by 7 bedroom. I call it more of an office nursery. She is 3 now. She's quickly outgrowing that space. We need more space for her as she gets older. So that's going to be the living space above that would provide for our family to move into that. We also do not have, storage. We lack storage within this property. We do not have a basement. Again, one of the only houses around the area through our neighbors. We are on a crawl space, so there's no storage for us. Without the garage, which would provide additional storage and safety for us here at this property, that would be another addition for us in the long term, for us to be able to stay here long term. So I talked about the garage. We feel safe in our community, but unfortunately there has been acts of crime throughout the neighborhood, especially at our property. I also run a landscape business in the area and throughout Columbus. I've had 2 trailers stolen from this property, straight out on Calumet Street. They were locked up. I'm not sure if they just came in, bolt cutted the locks, but I have had property stolen from me. So the addition of a garage would provide safety for my business as well as for the family. Covered that. Sorry, I'm just checking my notes here real quick. Outside of that, just talking a little bit about the community and why we love it. So we bought the place back in 2017. We've been here for a little over 7 years. My wife and I fell in love with the property and the community more than the house itself when we bought it. We've done a few renovations on it to make it what we want. So we have fallen in love with the community, the walkability of the community. So being able to walk down, our son goes to Clinton Elementary here right across the road. He just started kindergarten this year, so he's 5 years old. Just the walkability. We do Saturday and Sunday morning walks, grab coffee, local parks, meet up with neighbors. We've got a few neighborhood kids that run around the area. So just building those relationships, wanting to stay in the house that we bought. When we purchased the house, we didn't know if it would be our forever home, being completely honest. But now that we are raising 2 kids here, our kids are in the Columbus City School District, we definitely want this to be our forever home. I think so. In close, I think I'll make this short and sweet. Closing comments. The addition would allow us to continue raising our family again in the neighborhood that we love. And then I have a few. Stephen, did you get the neighbor emails that I sent you? Do you have those that you can pull up? Or I just wanted to make. I sent a couple long, but I just want to make a couple quick comments. So I reached out to all of our neighbors. A few of them were kind enough to reach back out to me and write letters of either whether they approve or disapprove of the garage. So just a couple quick comments I want to make about some of the neighbors and those relationships that we've built over the 7 years. So the first one, just a comment. They've been nothing but kind and generous neighbors, offering advice, contributing to the sense of the community that Clinton Pleasantville is known for. These additions will improve the safety and functionality of their home, allowing them to continue to be an integral part of the community. Another neighbor, the Goffs, have been wonderful neighbors. Members of the neighborhood, always contributing to the positive atmosphere and strong sense of community we all enjoy. We've had open conversations about their plans. We are confident this project will benefit the community by maintaining the harmony of the neighborhood while adding to its overall attractiveness. Another neighbor, an improvement to their home and is an improvement to the neighborhood.
Oh, by the way, just, he sent me these very early in the process, and I forgot, I didn't go back in my emails long enough to find them. So that's why so he did send them, I just went, wait a minute, did he send these to me yet, or did they get lost? No, and I'm sorry I did not include them, because I did not go back.
No,
He was very prompt in talking to his neighbors and getting feedback. I got these on October 6th. That's my fault for not distributing them.
no worries. And then just a couple more. Casey and Chris is my wife, and their children are fantastic neighbors, and it would be a huge loss to our neighborhood if they felt they needed to move in order to find a more suitable living space for their family. And then just the last one, they're wonderful neighbors, have continually improved the interior and exterior of their home, beautifying the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Yeah, so in closing, I just thank you for your consideration, for your time this evening.
Yes, and I will make sure the commissioners see those. I apologize to the folks here. The commissioner for the district is not here, so now we move on to questions from the committee.
Okay, I have a question.
Oh, and if you hear from the public to speak on it, you will get it. The way we do it is questions from the committee, and then we go to the public. Then we go to the public.
It's my first time here.
No, that's perfectly fine. I usually explain that at the beginning, and I didn't. I'm sorry. You will get a chance to speak to it. I promise. Anyone who's here to speak to it on something will get a chance to speak to it. That's part of what we're here for. Okay, questions from the committee.
I have a question. When we go to zero, does that include the space required for the footing? For spread footing, or does that mean that the spread footing is going into the right of way?
That's a great question. I'm not an architect engineer. Like I said, we haven't gone through the design phases of this. We're trying to go through the variance first before we spend additional money to get the designs in place. My guess is, knowing the 0 foot right of way, I would expect so I did a string line off of our existing foundation to see where that would fall with the property pin with our most recent site property map. There's an existing fence on the east property line that is on our neighbor's property. From that fence and our existing foundation, if we would pull that out to it'd be the southeast corner of the garage where that addition is going to take place. There's roughly 20 inches to 24 inches from that existing fence to the corner of the house. Now that's not, like I said, the property or the fence is on the neighbor's property. The property pin would be closer to that southeast corner of the garage. So there would be space between the existing fence and the garage foundation. It's going to be unusable space. There's not going to be anything to do back behind the garage between that and the fence. But again, I don't know the correct answer for the 0 right of way.
So what I would admonish you to do is, you made this a step before you invest in design, but if those dimensions are critical for making the space usable, like for the garage, will the garage actually be big enough to fit a car or meet the minimum requirements of code, then it still will have been an exercise for nothing if it can't work. So I would admonish you, you'll still have to meet those requirements, even if we said, okay, but if that setback includes the footing, then it's something definitely for you to take under consideration.
I was just wondering about that second variance. What is, can Can you explain that a little more?
I believe it's the total side yard setback. So because we're going on the east property line from 3 to 0 feet, and then from the west property line from 3 feet to 1.5 feet,
Right.
we would only have, if we go from 3 to 0 feet on the east, we would only have 1.5 foot instead of the total 7.06 feet. So it's the total setback on the east and the west property lines.
And one of the neighbors that has written is your immediate neighbor?
No.
Oh, okay, well, then I'll wait. Thank you.
Did you say all the letters were in support?
Yes, yeah, that I received back, yep.
I
Those
received,
have all been transferred over to Stephen.
I did receive one with some questions, and I believe maybe that was you, and then I connected, there were questions, so, and I just, instead of trying to answer all the questions, I connected them. And so, other question, have you considered how you would maintain this, assuming you get along well with your neighbor now, but let's say you and the future neighbor didn't get along, do you know how you would maintain it?
You talking between the existing fence and where
Yeah.
the foundation would be? Like I said, it would be, because you're talking probably anywhere from where the existing house is, it's roughly 2 to 3 feet, down to, if we go to 0 feet, it's gonna be unusable space. I would, being a landscaper, I would probably just put a weed fabric down and gravel.
No, I mean, if something if you have to
Oh,
paint.
you talking like power wash or cleaner and
Yeah.
stuff like that, or siding?
Yeah,
I would talk with the neighbor who lives there and just make sure, I mean, if we would have to, I don't think we would have to go on their property line at all, because we're gonna be between the fence and the foundation.
The fence being theirs,
Yeah, it's on their property, yep.
but they would have the same problem, wouldn't they, of maintaining their fence.
The fence, yeah, I mean, if they maintain the side that's on our property,
Right.
which they don't.
other questions from the committee? I see her, commissioners here at the the commissioner will have a chance to speak when we're done.
Oh, so, I see that the addition from the house to the garage is 9 by 23 feet. In the garage itself, you don't expect to put any living space above that. You're gonna be 17 feet or less.
The garage will have the living space above it.
Well, if
The
you're gonna,
addition between the house and the garage, where the garage will go, will not.
that's more of a breezeway.
We want it to be a 4-season room.
Right,
Yep.
yeah. But if
Yep.
you're gonna go higher than 17 feet on the garage, you're gonna need another variance.
Right.
So here's that, like, catch-22, not wanting to do the design before coming here.
Mhm.
But if you get disapproved, and then you want to go higher than 17 feet on the garage, you're gonna be back here with another variance, pulling more money out of the pocket. Just saying.
Does the 17-foot limit apply to attached garages?
That's what my question was gonna be. If it's
No, it
attached.
does,
This is-
Because then it's part of a house.
Yes.
Once it's attached, the rules are now more towards single structures as opposed to detached garages, so some of those height limits goes away.
Gotcha.
Notice we're also not having any variances for dwelling space and accessory unit, so that's why, because they're actually attaching this to.
That's
This
why
is
you
now
get around.
big.
Gotcha,
It's now one structure, not a detached garage.
gotcha, okay.
We haven't received a report from the city and review.
And I checked last night and there wasn't any. I put all the reports that were available.
I'd be curious to see that one.
Well, any other questions from the committee? And the one exception is, let's give the commissioner a shot, then I'll recognize you. Commissioner Osborne, do you want to say anything?
No, I've got no, comments, I'm just here to learn a little bit more before the vote.
Okay, you give your name and then,
My name is Lorraine Alexander, and me and my husband Thomas own the property at 251 East Lakeview, which is right beside Casey and Chris's house. My concern is partially, I don't understand anything about variances, so my question to the committee is, does taking the variance, or taking that space side yard down to a 0 variance, means that anywhere along the property line, a building can be built up to, a permanent occupied building can be built up to the property line. So for the space between the two houses as well as the space on the other side of the proposed garage.
It's just, I'm not 100% sure, but this, one thing we could also do, if we can, I have seen people say the variance only goes back a certain number of feet from the front, or commit to the site plan where the city puts a stamp on the site plan.
Right, I mean, there is an easement in our front yards, but so
But the answer is, I don't, in the end, the city gets to decide how they want to construct, how they want to finish this off. We can give recommendations and tell them what's important. One thing we could tell them that's important is that this be limited to this structure and not go all the way back.
yeah, and that is my concern, because between our two existing houses, it's about 8 feet. I didn't realize it already did it. I mean, it was kind of weird, but right now, I don't know if Casey here's my husband and I, since it is just my husband and I, but we hammer something in the wall. I'm sure you hear it in your house. They hammer something in their walls, we hear it in our house. If the intent was between, for existing distances, that would also go to zero. That would impact my selling of my property at some point in the future.
Awesome.
And that's my main, one of my concerns. And the other concern was, if a permanent building is built, is it the wall of the building? And this may be to what you were talking about before. Is the wall of the building to the zero variance, or is the drip line of, in this case, the garage and the other room considered? So we would automatically have the space. Now, Casey has said, it's going to be built, the 20 inches or so from the fence. But again, my concern is for my future property value as far as ability to sell, because I'm assuming that if we would sell, this would have to be known that, yes, there's a zero variance. So if I could get answers to that question, that would be great. Your offer to say your recommendation might be just the two structures would be helpful in that regard.
And I have an appointment with I think he's the head of the Building and Zoning Services tomorrow morning to discuss ADU, their parent shifting policies on ADUs, and I will bring this up with him. Do you have an answer?
I'm almost positive the variance is for what he's exactly asking for, and if he's building something outside of that, he would have to get another variance.
To get the variance
Yes.
between the two houses.
And I'm also pretty sure
further
it's
in.
from the property line to the beginning of the building, and that includes the overhang.
Okay.
So, because I know when we build over the overhang, we have to get a variance and then do fire rating. So I'm pretty sure it's to the beginning of whatever it is, not the
Not the
wall,
actual
but the
physical wall,
overhang,
right.
yes.
That's my understanding as well, but I'm not 100%.
I
Guess
That's
it's probably,
softening gutters.
it would probably fall on what the definition of building line is, because usually the 0-foot setback applies to the building line. And I don't know if that includes, say, an overhang for drip line or not, but that's typically the word is the building line.
I can also, if I don't get the answer, it might be unfair to expect a detailed answer from someone springing it on it, but I can also email the planner and say, this is our concern, how do we address it? Because I think my guess is the commission will have the same thoughts. And that's part of why we have 8 days between this committee meeting and the commission meeting, so that questions can be investigated and answers given before. Because what happens is, we make a recommendation to the commission has 9 people, none of whom are sitting at this table, and they listen to what the committee says, but they don't always do what we recommend, which is then the same thing with BZA to the commission.
Okay, and then my second question, and this might just be for Casey. The southeast corner, how far from the property line is the southeast corner?
So from the site survey, I think it was like 0.5 feet.
So 6 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. So if, in your sense, the variance is only for the two requested properties.
I want, Correction West knows this stuff very well, she deals with it as part of her career, but I will check with BZ, I will check with either the planner or Tony Celebrezzi to have an answer by the commission time.
Okay, and then it's just something once that is all taken care of. I guess my concern was, if there was going to be space between the property line and the building, why do we need variance?
Because we think we've never, I don't think we've ever asked a direct question about where they count, whether it's the overhang that counts towards where.
Well, but I'm saying just in terms, if we're to 20 inches, why does the variance need to be to 0? But you're saying that takes it down because of the way the property line angles.
It goes
up, and it can't be corrected on the street side.
The street side's going down from 3 feet to 1.5 feet.
Right. The street side, you couldn't go down further.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys have answered some questions.
Thank you
We'll
for
wait to
taking.
hear from you.
Thank you for the time for coming and discussing it. Yes, sir. Can you give your name and then?
Yeah, my name's Dave Jones, and I'm actually an architect, retired, and I'm a neighbor 2 doors down. So generally, and I didn't do a lot of residential, but I know, a little. So like the 2-story part, the overhang would have to be back from that overhang. Now the footing, I'm not sure. I think the building line is measured from the actual building siding, and the footing can stick over, 4 or 5 inches, so into the variance. But that's something that whoever gets to do the drawings will figure out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anyone else here to speak on this? Yes, Sandy Sinwell.
Yes. Was it a double at one time, your house?
No idea.
It looks like it had 2 front doors at one time.
So we moved our front door.
Ah.
When we purchased back in 2017, we moved in like 2 years later. If you're looking from Lakeview at the front, it used to be on the right-hand side.
And that's, okay.
It just made more
Because I was gonna
sense.
say that lot is not wide enough to have had a double, but.
No, yeah.
I'm glad to know that you haven't caught an architect yet, because I'm like, where's the stairway to get to that 2nd floor? Fences can be legally placed on the property line. It is standard practice in the state of Ohio and basically nationwide that fences should be placed 6 inches inside. So if I put mine 6 inches inside and you put yours 6 inches inside, we have a 1-foot no man's land, AKA maintenance. That if you have 3 foot on each side of your house, which would be a 6 foot total for side yard, that is acceptable. And the standard garage for a 2-car garage, the standard is 24 by 22. So his, did you say 26?
20 by 26 is what we have in mind.
Is within the tolerance, because a minimum is 18 by 20 for a 2-car garage, and that's 320 square feet. So the 24 by 22 is the standard, and there would have to be a firewall because of the drip line. And this is a really odd shaped lot.
Any other comments or questions from the public? Okay, then it comes back to the commission with the chair puts on a motion to approve as submitted on the floor. Now it's up for discussion.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Was there an attempt to try to get what you want out of this project without needing variances, or making something garage smaller, or moving it over this way a little bit so that you're not so close on the other side?
To do the living space above that we would want for our family to grow up. That's probably more of a priority, so the garage than the living space above it, just so our family can grow into the house. But yes, I mean, if I have to go and cut a foot here on the east property line, a foot on the west, I would be more than happy to do that if it's able to make us be able to do this project.
The 26 feet is
North to south, 20 feet east to west.
20 feet this way, 26 this way? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I was just wondering if there was an attempt made to not have to go through this.
Yeah.
I agree, it's a unique lot, and it's sad that that beautiful brick patio that you put in, and that fence, and I mean, you guys did some really nice improvements to that property.
We
since you
have,
purchased it.
yes.
And you've really added to the community with those improvements.
Yep. Yeah, that patio, so part of that patio, the front part of it on Calumet, that's closer to the house, we would keep that and have it more be like a courtyard patio. And then everything else I would relocate to the backyard on the other side of the garage.
How are you gonna get to the backyard?
Through the fence.
Through the
You're gonna go out the sidewalk and then have a gate to get into the back?
Well, there's that little bit of space on this side.
1 foot 6 inches, I can't do that.
You can't go side.
Yeah, I guess I could.
Also, then maneuvering room issues if they shut the pole closer. Any other comments or questions from the committee?
The reason I wanted to see what that staffing report had stated is because the Clintonville neighborhood plan had detached garage written all over it. So anytime there's a garage attachment, it makes me question whether it's within the spirit of the neighborhood. But also we're conflicted on how we can judge these, we need the variance based on the merit of the variance and not necessarily on other attributes. So I think getting some guidance from the city, like we're talking about for ADUs and stuff, would be maybe a little bit helpful in that regard to what we're able to necessarily consider in our decision making.
I was just trying to figure out, trying to see if I could just double check to see if there was any new report, and I don't think I got the city is very picky about how you coordinate, how you call the application. I may have gotten it wrong, just to check 245. Have you received a staff report yet?
No.
Let's see. Here it is. See if they've given you anything.
Yeah, the zip code's incorrect. Did you say zip code? Yes, 43202.
No, there's just the second application. No, it's just there's no application there. Yeah, they had to send me stuff for some reason. There's 2 entries on the city's list, but one of them is they didn't scan it correctly the first time. Trying to see if they have. I'll try one more thing to see if there's anything in processing status that says staff review. It just says it was due 11/6/24, assigned to be determined.
Sure, TBD is right on there.
TBD.
Man, that guy does a lot.
Seems to not do a lot. It appears. Yeah, and the only zoning review comment is someone figured out that the description they put on it is wrong, because it says proposed description and it appears that there is no existing garage. The project is to build an attached garage, not to replace it. That's why I had the language in there. The language there is in there is I took it from the city's application. And so this is to build an attached garage. Do we want to do anything with the concept that we just want to put in our notes, or does anyone disagree with this? That we want to, that what we are voting on is that the property line is described, the line is drawn in the application, and we're not talking about allowing them to move anything closer, and that maybe this could just be on the minutes in our explanation. Does anyone disagree that we are only approved, that what we only want to approve is the line that they have on there? We don't want to allow them to move anything any closer to the property line than the drawing that they gave us, meaning.
The application has.
Yeah, yeah.
Or as.
Yeah.
Demonstrated.
We don't want to let them move it's not to move their house next up to the property line. It's not to build the entire lot line.
The comment might be any of these setback variances only apply to the changes to the attached garage, not the existing dwelling.
Or any other, or any extension, any future extensions.
I think that's fair, because this goes with the property, so we gotta think about replacement of the house at some point. Then that's a legitimate argument with the tapered lot, about getting on top of the neighbor.
And it's my job to bring it up tomorrow and see if I need to see if this is a.
I wouldn't feel comfortable setting that limit at any distance from the streets or the property lines, because you don't know those at the moment specifically to add that word in.
I think we can give the commission the gist of what we want, and then use these 8 days to do it. That was chair when BJ White was chair of the commission. She's the one who said you really need to start giving 8 days instead of 2 days. And that was. This is why. BJ was right.
She was right.
Okay, well, it's on the table. Are there any other discussion?
My only major other concern on this one, I think the overhang part's pretty clear. It's the overhang, it's not the face of the building. You can't build something over your neighbor's property. But that spread footing will also cross the property line.
What does he mean by spread footing?
So when this is constructed, the foundation, there we go. We can draw it, it'll be easier.
So when you build a wall, the foundation of footing will extend beyond the exterior face of that wall. A minimum, I would think, of 6 inches.
Usually 2 feet minimum.
Well, the footing itself can be 2 feet,
Right, and then.
but the extension beyond the exterior face.
But if he has there's a zero setback and there's an overhang.
It's gonna be under the overhang.
And the other thing is, we do not vary property law. So if there's a property law issue, a property line issue, we can't authorize him to build, we can't authorize him to put something into his neighbor's lot, and that's his problem.
Yeah. And it's on the honor system too. He builds it, if somebody challenges it, they'll figure it out.
Well, no, because we have inspectors and they come out and look at a foundation before
They won't survey it though. Guaranteed. They're gonna look at it and be like, yeah, it's a garage.
The city might just worry about, is the garage sound, is the footing big enough? And then it would be a matter between neighbors and the courts if needed if you started to move onto your neighbor's property. We have what, I'm gonna recognize someone for the answer. Hopefully you're.
So every footer inspection that I've had, they have actually taken a tape measure to it and seen where it is in relation to the property line.
Really?
Maybe I just have
Got a good
inspectors, but yeah, that's why we string them out, is to make sure that we're within the tolerance of what it is. There's some excavation that happens, but the foundation itself isn't outside of that line. The foundation is in line with it.
Well, then just so clear, unless he gets an easement with his, property law is not our job. Which
is why I was admonishing him to make sure that his design is still gonna work for his intention
That's
if
what,
that goes.
If that building has to push back a foot.
okay.
Right.
Well,
And-
do,
You know, this is not a mortgage location survey, it's a new survey, so have to expect he's gonna put it in the right place and it's gonna be engineered or architected to the right.
someone's professional responsibility
Yes.
and malpractice insurance.
Errors of omission insurance.
Well then, are we ready for a vote? And again, remember, we're putting in the minutes that caveat that we all talked about. I'll start with Gretchen Westhook.
Yes.
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 Yes, but I really would love for the exact, by the time the commission gets it, for exact measurements.
And
I appreciate the money aspect of it, but when you're dealing with inches,
yeah,
I think it's probably gonna be worth your while anyway.
and the chair votes yes. And so that's recommended approval with those notes in our minutes of 8-0. And this goes before the full commission a week from tomorrow. That's at the library. And that meeting also starts at 7. The zoning agenda often doesn't start till after 8, but if you don't show up till 8, that'll be the time it starts at 7.
Yes.
Oh, excuse me, no, it's 2 weeks from tomorrow because we're meeting it's the week after Thanksgiving. We're meeting a week early. It is
Ample time.
December.
Yeah, lots of
15
time,
days.
what
I
did I
find
say?
to forget and be like, oh shoot, I can do it last minute.
but no.
It is, the commission's meeting is December 5th at 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, I'm so used to that being 8.
This is the December meeting, basically.
Okay, we have 2 other items on the agenda, so we should, thank you very much. You're tight, you want to keep listening, you can. If you want to go home, go home to your kids, go home to your kids. Second item on the agenda is BZA 24142, 615 East North Broadway. In order to build a 2-story addition at the rear of the home, the applicant seeks a variance to reduce the minimum required side yard from 3 feet to 2 feet. Yes, give your name and then you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Brian Hayes. I'm with Ohio Property Brothers. I'm here on behalf of Patrick and Jenny Fowler, the applicants. We are not asking for 0, so we're gonna make it a little bit easier on you. There is a slight reduction that we need for this house, and that's why we're here today. So the lot width on the house that we have is 10 feet less.
Actually,
Yeah,
or is it in your drawing?
Sure.
That's the staff report. He had to divide these up. Is it showing?
Somebody's email wasn't accepting larger.
Yeah, it was. Well, the problem is MailChimp would not accept. I upload these to MailChimp to distribute them, and MailChimp won't let me update anything above 10 megabytes.
So if you're at the first page, you can see the lot or the site plan.
First page of your application.
The first page, I think it would be of set 1 of 3.
Right.
That's at 1 of 3.
I don't know what
That doesn't
order.
have the lot line.
It's on.
Sorry,
That's okay.
one of these. I know I asked you. You showed me where it was, and
It's okay. It's on like the very first page, but I don't know what the first is in order. But
so that's not it. These are the 3. Did I mess that up? He did send it to me. Let me get Brian Hayes. Thanks for the reminder. Let's see.
Yeah, that's part of this.
first one?
Yeah, it's pretty small. On the first package you sent, very first page, pretty small in the upper left-hand corner there.
Not the application.
Not the application, first drawing package. Very, that's
There
the
you go.
one he's referring to right there in the upper left. That one.
Okay.
Yeah, so this lot itself is 10 feet less than all the other lots that are close to it. And I think that that's why we have such a close side yard setback. I'm really good with right and left. I'm not so good with east and west. But the east side of the building, there's a detached garage in white, and then the existing house is also in white. So the addition that we would like to put here just connects those two areas. Right now, there's a deck and a patio, but we're not, we're existing non-conforming as we sit now, and we want to be further non-conforming, if that's the right way to say it. So we have an addition that we want to put on there. It'll be a 2-story addition. We're re-siding and re-roofing the home so that it looks like it was always like that and always there. But the variance that we fall under is because that we're putting, the existing house had attic that we're putting dormers on the top to, which increases the square footage by more than 50%, which pushes us into the variance.
So it goes, this is the existing house, this is
Correct.
the addition,
Correct.
and that's the existing garage.
Correct. Yeah, so these things in combination have us asking for the variance because we're increasing the livable square footage, but we're actually increasing the livable square footage by way of the dormers on the existing house more than the added square footage from the addition itself. The Fowlers themselves, they, much like Mr. and Mrs. Goff, they bought and have lived here and raised their family here. So they've been here since the 90s. Now that the kids are older and grown, they're wanting to come back and visit at holidays, and there's just not enough room in the 2-bedroom house that they have. So we're increasing the beds upstairs, which gives us the extra square footage. But to do that, we have a 3-yard setback, and we just need to reduce it to connect it exactly. We just need to reduce it by 1 foot, so from 3 foot to 2 foot. It feels rather straightforward to me. I'm happy to continue to talk about it or answer any questions that are coming up.
I can just start this off and say, this is right next to the cat welfare people that we did.
Yeah, you guys recently had that.
And they know of this. They asked for information about what this is, and I sent it on to them, and I didn't receive any positive or negative feedback.
Yeah, and same with the staff review. There was no comments. But we've met with everybody actually. There's been quite a lot of things that have happened on that 71 North Broadway. There's a lot of sewer changes, and there was just a lot of things that I needed to learn about the property to be able to come up with a design that was going to work for both the customer and then what we think that the city will accept from a building plan. But then we needed to ask the permission from zoning and then the corporate commission.
The planning supports it. Are there any other, let's see, Commissioner Osborne, did you want to say anything?
I'm in favor of the project.
Any questions from the committee?
So is the reason this isn't called an accessory dwelling because it's attached to the house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the kitchen situation is immaterial. What's the square footage of the living space? And what is the square footage of the house?
The living square footage of the house, now we're gonna test my memory because I didn't write it down. I think it's around 900.
All right.
This is where I kind of get confused. The
I
living
guess I mean
square
upstairs.
footage upstairs is what we're adding.
Right.
So that will bring the total house up to about 1,700. But the square footage on the addition, which is where we have to request the variance, that's only a few hundred. It is on my drawing, but I can't zoom in on my paper right here.
What do you want me to zoom in on?
Thank you. So yeah, the first floor is at 723, and the second floor is at 413. That's for the addition. That's for the addition only. So what's part of that 700 is not like it's not a 700 square foot addition on top of a 400 square foot addition. The other part of it is over the existing house that was attic space, not bedrooms.
Is that attic space currently finished?
Yes. And so knowing that we were gonna get it inspected, we have to add the dormers and then have the head height for all the building purposes, but then they will be able to partition and use that as a room.
Questions from the committee? Comments from the public? Okay, then it comes back to the committee. I put a motion to approve as submitted on the table, and for discussion, questions, and then vote. No.
I just want to clarify, I think from the plans, it looks like the existing structure is already 2 feet from the property line. You're just looking to continue that building line to attach to the existing garage. You don't have a complicated situation here with a property line tapering towards the front of the property and getting closer at one point or not. So I don't think we're changing anything really from an existing condition.
Agreed.
Any other comments or questions? Ready for a vote? Start with Diane.
Yes.
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 Chair votes yes as well, recommend 8-0 to the commission. You heard what it is. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Don't
2 weeks
for
and a day.
Thanksgiving.
You come on
Well,
Thanksgiving.
a vote yes for us is a vote for happy cats, because everybody's excited about it.
Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you.
glad.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we finally have the last variance on the agenda is CV 24136, 54 Erie Road, to permit an accessory dwelling unit to reduce the rear yard from 25% of the lot behind each dwelling to 25% behind the existing house, and to 19.8% for the accessory dwelling, and to allow the ADU not to have the required fronting of a dwelling unit. Give your name and then I will pull up your application.
George Cleary Jr. with the Cleary Company, here on behalf of the Gregg family. They've lived in the home since 1998 in Clintonville on Erie Road. We have begun the design process for the accessory dwelling unit, which is going to be occupied by an adult daughter who's looking for some semi-independent living outside of the home. She has some health concerns that we can get into if the committee would like, but we would like to keep her close to the family and on the property. This accessory dwelling unit, we are asking for 3 variances. One is the fact that there is an accessory dwelling unit, so a second dwelling on the property. The second one is to reduce the rear yard from 25% of the lot behind each dwelling to 19.8 for the accessory dwelling. So the existing home will remain within code, but the accessory dwelling will only allow 19.8% on that rear yard. And then the third is the accessory dwelling unit not to have the required fronting for a dwelling unit. I don't know off the top of my head what the required frontage is, but we're asking for less than what a normal home would be. Hence why we are asking for that third variance. The existing garage will come down. It is not suitable to be built on top of. There's not a correct footing in place. It was built before the current homeowners were occupants. So we will start by tearing down the existing garage and then building the new 2-car accessory garage dwelling unit. Above, it will consist of a kitchenette, living / study space, the daughter's in school, and then a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom. It's roughly, I believe, 625 square feet of living space, and the first floor of the garage will be completely unfinished. We have taken a ton of consideration into the architectural plans and trying to match the home in the neighborhood, so it kind of conforms to neighborhood standards. And we will not be encroaching on any rear or side yard setbacks. And all utilities will be kept intact, no easements of any sort, no additional utility runs that will require city involvement.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now we have, the commissioner is not here for that district, so it's questions from the committee.
Okay, are we getting back into the muddy waters of the kitchenette? Does it need a sewer line? I mean, again,
That's the difference between ADU and carriage house.
Although one thing they did,
carriage house.
one thing they told us
Carriage
is,
house has the additional new connections to utilities,
And
where the ADU does not. ADUs typically will have utility connections that are shared with the primary residence on
okay,
the property.
and the kitchenette was something that they didn't want in the carriage house. That's okay here.
I don't believe there's restrictions on kitchenettes on either definition of carriage house or ADU.
that's part of why I want to talk
Last
to.
month we had something about they had to take out kitchenette language. Right.
Remember that poor guy?
I don't think they did that yet, and that's why I'm having, that's why Tony Celebrezzi, either he or someone else is going to present to the commission at their next meeting. You're welcome to attend or what.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I'm meeting with them in the morning is to tell them we're confused, we need information, you need to start explaining. Or, yeah, if you're, you know, the city keeps coming, and we hear different things from different folks. It's not your fault. There's also an argument going on. It's not your fault between the building people and the zoning people who have different definitions of habitable space and can't just live with the fact that habitable space means different things to each of them. That's, the lawyer in me says, yes, I understand you can use the same word for different things in different places as long as you say so, but you're just in the middle of this.
I get it. One thing to note on the kitchenette, there is no oven or hood. It's basically a refrigerator and a
Microwave.
more or less plug-in microwave
Yes,
on the countertop. So the only mechanicals we would need would be a water line for a sink.
Sewer.
Sanitary.
Yes, for the restroom, yeah. Sorry, I was just speaking on the kitchenette. And yeah, it will be tied in with the existing home, so won't be running a whole new sewer line for it.
You might, I don't know if you're gonna be before or after the building and zoning people talking about ADUs at the next commission meeting.
Yeah, I know it's up in the air at the city. They're trying to approve less restrictions on accessory dwelling units, is my understanding.
They're just there.
We're rather excited. We do a ton of additions in the city, but accessory dwelling units would be a whole new subcategory.
We just like to know what we're doing.
When I know, I'll let you know.
It's not easy.
No.
Well, I think one of the benefits of having an ADU versus a carriage house, because as soon as you have a carriage house that has livable space, you're never going to see lot splits coming down the road saying, hey, I want to sell my carriage house independent of my house. So if the utilities are tied together, I think
It's different. It's not as easy to follow. That's true.
You're right, it's coming.
Did we hear from neighbors?
I've not heard anything back from neighbors.
What's the height of this thing?
Just a-
The roof pitch, I believe, falls at 18 feet, and when we submitted, the city said that garage heights and ADU heights have different standards, so since it's an accessory dwelling unit, we don't fall within that 17-foot garage height clearance.
It's great.
Thank you. I can't take credit, we have a design team in-house that is much more talented than I.
You know, you see a lot of these garages with the shed dormers going out to the sides. I haven't seen one though that does a shed dormer and like a little 5-foot balcony on the front of it, and with a spiral staircase going in. Would that be fun?
Not for us.
Spiral staircase is hard to approve these days.
I'm sure my daughter would love that.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the committee? Then I'll put it for a vote. Public comment, I'm sorry, public comment.
Come on, Stephen, you didn't think you're gonna
I'm
get
sorry.
off that easy, did
No, I'm
you?
sorry, I gotta have.
I've gotta go down the list of my notes, I'm gonna keep you on.
Thank you.
First of all, I think that the design is really nice, and I appreciate the difference between the carriage house and the ADU. And contrary to what we are all fed and through the media and other groups, actually, city council is the one that's driving the train called the ADU. It is up to you, as representatives of the citizens of, or residents of Clintonville, to look out for our best interests. And I really appreciate the clarification of the ADU versus carriage house. And also, it is my understanding that probably starting yesterday, or at least no later than the first of the year, hardship statements will be read and will be taken into they will be taken into consideration, where over the last few years, it's been very lax. And so, that being said, I really think you guys gotta be really, really careful on your wording when you present this to the area commission. The area commission needs to be equally careful on how they word it when they approve or disapprove. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I think you're right, we need to be precise, and that's why we're bringing Tony Celebrezzi, or one of his top people.
And you don't let him tell you what you want. You tell Celebrezzi, as taxpayers, what you want. He works for you, you do not work for him, contrary to popular belief.
Thank you. That's question, comment, time for the, come back to the committee. I'll put a motion to approve on the table. And I'll just say, my main purpose in talking with Celebrezzi is I want definitions, and I want clarity over what words mean and over what they want, or what they are trying to push for in specific things. Why a kitchenette here, why not a kitchenette there? I just want them to at least give their reasons and explain to us so we understand. I'm not asking him to persuade me that he's right, I just want to know what he's saying. But that's the first step.
What is this face? This left elevation?
It's
Didn't
gonna
say
be
east or
vinyl
west.
siding. Oh, the left elevation is gonna be, the west side.
And there's a neighbor right there,
No, the,
What's-
east side is gonna be the closest to the neighbor.
so that would be the right elevation?
Correct.
Well, okay, same thing here.
Yep.
They've heard this before. This has nothing to do with the way I vote, but as a design thing, and I know you can speak to this, that's just a big blank wall for a neighbor to look at.
There was concerns of privacy with the bathroom.
No, I don't
faces
even
on-
mean a real
Yeah.
window.
Mhm.
I just mean an architectural element
Mhm.
that breaks it up. I don't
Mhm.
wanna look through any window, I don't want it to be a real window, I just thought, I wouldn't wanna look at that.
Yeah.
Because there's a little white thing here, but that's not gonna be there, that's just a notation.
That is the notation, yeah.
You want a window outside?
Just a thought,
Thank you.
just a thought.
Any other comments or questions?
So because this is an ADU, will it have its own address?
Nope, it will share the same address. There won't be a shipping or mailing address or anything.
Is that the distinction between ADU and carriage house? I'm confused.
It is one of them, it's
One
not
of
the
them.
only distinction.
And I thought you,
Carriage house gets an address?
That's an address?
They can.
I don't know if carriage house is a legal term or not.
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
yes.
I have a carriage house with its own address.
Yeah.
We've built ADUs with our own addresses.
Well.
So I think.
Which one of you doesn't have the carriage house or ADU?
I thought carriage house meant that it was above a garage. I thought that was the distinction between an ADU and a carriage house.
A carriage house was a kind of is a subset of ADU.
Correct, but it had to be above a garage
Right.
to be considered a carriage house.
That's why,
Yeah, carriage house.
that's why I think the city owes us and owes us, at least they owe us a walkthrough, and that's what they're gonna get, hopefully that's what they're gonna give at the meeting. And I will suggest to Chair Bolton that if they at all possibly can, to give a good chunk of time to that discussion so that they can learn what they need to learn and not have it be rushed.
And for clarification, we aren't submitting for a separate address or anything. So it'll stay.
I just said, one thing they did tell us at the training over the weekend is sewers aren't, they said, basically said sewers aren't your business. That's not.
I wish they weren't mine.
They told us that that's their job to make sure that the sewers work.
Stay in your lane.
Any other, that's ready for a vote? Let's go back, start from this side this time.
Yes.
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 No, we need more clarification on the differences between ADUs and carriage houses and everything before we continue to approve more of these. We need clarification from the city at this point, and that's right now my main objection to continuing to approve any further ADUs or carriage houses. Yes. Yes.
No, same reasons. That's fine.
And the chair's going to abstain partly because I want the answers from the city, but that means we have a recommendation approval of 5 to 2 to 1. So this goes before the committee. You've heard what it goes before the commission 15 days from today. And so thank you very much. You can stay if you want to stay for our discussion of screening forms.
If you'd like, I will gladly stay.
You don't want to do
But,
Well, then I'll take your advice. You have one.
that. Thank you for the no.
Thank you.
From what, 7 to 9?
yes. And I'm going to, since we only have, the meeting has not been adjourned. We have discussion of screening forms, and since you two are just staying, that's Michael Hawes' draft. By the way, I want to say thanks to Michael for putting in a ton of work on this. He's the one who gave us the list that gave us the basis of consideration. He gave the commissioners a chance. That's it. Mike gave the commission the basis to at least look at some of the ideas we're considering for what sort of information we wanted. And it's one of the purposes of this is that we are always asking the same questions. So why not ask them in advance so that we get good answers? And
Yes.
oh, did you not have that?
No, I emailed it to everyone.
Just at the last, yeah.
Earlier this evening.
He's been,
Cutting everything to the last minute like I always do, but I did get it
but
in
he
before
did,
the meeting.
but he did the work, which is, I am so grateful that he did the work. It's,
So, yeah, this was an attempt to put together from our minutes some of the most common questions, give an easy way for the applicant to present this and fill this out prior to our meetings so we don't continually ask them the same questions. I broke it down into a couple of different sections. First, the unit structure, and that related to square footage of the first floor of the ADU, or the first floor of the garage, we typically see the ADUs on top of the garage. So I was asking clarification between the square footage on the first floor and then the additional square footage of any other floors. That question always seems to come up and factors into the decision. And then also the square footage of the primary residence on the property always seems to come up. I thought, just give them a blank to fill out, they can write that number in there, and then we don't have to sit around at the meetings looking for calculations off of drawings, which always seems to happen. So that was the first. And then height always seems to come up, so you get that in there. Setbacks can be a complicated one. I don't know how we address it any differently, but I tried to break it down into front yard setback, backyard setback. Might need to change that wording to rear yard, because that's probably more consistent with the zoning code. And then we have the possibility of 2 side yard setbacks to add in there, so we can get that information easily. I think we did previously have a question in there about a maintenance agreement. However, I removed that because we had conversations about that not being a question we really want to delve into. Then the next items on there were utilities always seems to come up. So I tried to break it down into the several major utilities: electrical, sanitary, sewer, water, and gas. And we're always trying to determine whether these are going to be new connections to the utility service or to the existing home. I figure this is just a check one and or none. And then if there's another source they're getting the utility from, they can add that in. Somebody may try to do one of these ADUs on solar. You never know. So that's why I have that. And then we also get into just amenities in the ADU, the bath, shower, sink, toilet, stove. If you have, I'm always looking for others in there. If we can make this list more succinct, please give me the input. And if we want to add others to that. And then finally, I think parking is always the big issue. It's just, if you're asking for a parking reduction, we typically then question whether street parking and or off-street parking is available. I don't know if we want to try to get into number of spots that might be available, especially for off-street. We probably could. Street parking would be a little harder to estimate for the average, but we could probably add another item on the off-street parking that clarifies how many spaces exist total on the parcel. So that would give us a good idea.
I like that addition for the off-street. Off-street is the count on spots.
Yeah, that's something I don't feel is too arduous for the applicant to add, only because they should know that it's something on their property, they can control it. I don't want to go and ask for off-street parking availability, because that's going to be far too complicated for a residential applicant to undertake that kind of study to do. So,
gosh, when I was in college, I parked like 2 miles away at times. I mean, talk about all the on-street parking. I had to.
So yeah, I think if anybody has any comments, I'm happy to incorporate them. I think this will probably go to the CAC as well for review and discussion.
I thought do we want to add some of the questions we have in the typical form about neighborhood plan, impact on neighbors? How
that is, I guess the question is, do we see this as a supplement to the existing screening forms we're using, or is it a replacement for? Because then I think you're right. If it's a replacement for, and anybody who's doing a ADU is just going to fill this form out, then I would want to incorporate the other questions we had on the existing single-family home form. Or are they, if they have to do both.
They already have a mountain of paperwork to do.
So we probably want to incorporate it into one form.
That's what I would argue for.
I think part of the issue with doing this also is that the ADUs don't neatly fit. So we have multifamily, we have single family home, and it's not real. It's kind of in between.
Well, can you have a multifamily with an ADU?
Yeah, because it's multifamily. Because technically, you have one family in the front, one family in the back. That's multi.
A duplex, right?
Or you could have a duplex with an ADU behind it, and you have three.
But I think the ADU is effectively multifamily because you have different.
Yes, it is, right.
and that's, so do we need to, and also, I'll ask the city about whether they want us to be even asking about the sewer issue, because I don't know if is that just our curiosity, or does that affect the
Yeah,
decision?
so my concern, I agree with the front page and the parking. My concern, and I appreciate the effort you put forth in doing this, is everything on the second page about the interior. I don't think those should be in consideration when we're making the decision. We don't determine how many toilets people put in their additions. And frankly, if I wanted to rehab my house and add 10 more toilets, I'm within my rights to do that. Like, I just don't think what's going on in the interior of the house is what we're being asked to consider. The zoning rules have to do with setbacks and parking and the look of the house. It's not how it's designed on the interior.
And I agree, I understand that comment, but this does start to cross into that question that we're having about what is the difference between an ADU and a carriage house? Because at points and times, this has been the distinction in the past that, well, you could have a sink and water, but once you added a sanitary sewer connection, that pushed it into a different consideration, whether it was just a garage remodel or actually pushed it into a habitable space type situation, which is why these questions came up.
But isn't that the city's job to tell us what the zoning variances are for, not assuming we get clarity, right? I understand we all need clarity, but the city's gonna tell the applicant what they need to apply for. It's not up for us to determine. We're not the zoning professionals to determine if you have sewer, we get to tell you what to apply for. That's the city's job.
I don't know that that was ever the intent of these questions. This was mostly a survey of going through the minutes and figuring out all the questions that we usually have when we're making these decisions,
I guess what I'm
and
saying,
we do
we
ask
can
those
have
questions.
those questions.
But are
I
you
don't
saying we
think
should
they
be
should-
asking?
One at a time, one at a time.
I just don't think that they should be a part of influencing our decision, yes or no. Our concern is mainly exterior, size, height, the normal stuff. We can't tell a person how to build the inside of their property.
I can interrupt. I think we can go too far, although we are dealing with use variances when we talk about, with use, change of use. With council variances, they are allowing a different use of that as space than they would normally be allowed to build under the zoning code.
It's a residential use, help me understand.
It's residential use, but is it a residential use for a second dwelling is a different use
Or
than
is it
that.
an art studio with the sink?
Yeah, an art studio with the sink is, say, like, what they use it for when you're dealing with a council variance seems to me to be more relevant.
And most of these aren't council variances for this sort of thing.
Yeah, but I see your point. I do think things like the sewer issues, I've made this, the sewer issues are not as much, that's more of us trying to figure out what they're trying to do, but that's sewer and utilities. That's one message I did get from the city at the training is they don't want us to be thinking about utilities. That's not our job. They have people to work.
But it's just what you said, we're trying to figure out, based on everything else, what are they thinking? So it's not really about the sewer. Right.
But do you see what we're trying to say? Is that when they're trying to say, normally you could only use the space for one family's dwelling. It's a single family dwelling unit, and and space in a garage is not supposed to be used for living in. A person isn't supposed to live in a garage. And so they're going to the city council and city council asking for a legislative change to give them permission to start living in a garage. And then they have to bring the garage up to whatever building code that requires. But normally you're not allowed to have living space above your garage. So does that change your opinion on whether we should ask?
Well, you just got them saying that we're not supposed to be delving into utilities, and almost this entire page is about utilities.
But I can see that. I also see the flip side is they're saying we're trying to figure out, are you trying to make it a second dwelling unit? But maybe this is something I can talk to Celebrezzi about And what are our legitimate, what do we think about it? We can give our opinions, but if we have our opinions on things they don't care about, then we'll be less persuasive.
I think we should put a pin in this until you have that discussion, because I think it'll
I
shed a
agree.
lot of light on can we, should we, do we?
I agree.
I'm not in disagreement with that either at this point. We
Right.
can take this form and show it to them and say, these are some of the questions we have.
And that's how you're gonna finish that sentence there.
And I'll email this to, and I'll,
And then we could say, hey, are these appropriate things that we should be focusing on or not? You know, but the city is really looking for feedback from us about what our concerns are with these ADUs. This is a lot of them when we come and talk about it. If
No.
people have other ones they would like to add, please bring them up.
So Gretchen, you're saying your question mark is really about the third
Yeah, item 3.
item number.
Yeah, I just don't think that's within our control. We don't ask those sort of questions for additions or somebody wanting to build a house because they don't, the variance is not dependent on the number of bedrooms or toilets.
I think part again, it's when they're asking for a change of, when they're asking to be able to use space for something they normally would. In use, we should not be considering use on a BZA, on a setback, even whether they want to have it for their, where they want to put a home office or their third child is not our business, but whether it's, but when they're asking for changes of use, then that does kind of make it our business. But I think Gretchen has a good point. Sometimes we drift into areas that go beyond what our zoning and variance committee's purview normally. And one thing I know it's important to speak the will of the community, but if we speak in areas, I think sometimes area commissions can lose persuasiveness when they give the city a reason for not doing something. Yeah, I'll let Sandy Simple speak.
You're going down the right path. The city does not tell you what to do. You give the city your request. Tell the city, here's what we need from you. They don't tell you what you can do and can't do. Tell them, we need from you.
And I would echo that. Part of, I understand that the city should not be asking some of these questions necessarily on what you're using it for. We're also representing the neighborhood as well, so we have other concerns that the city may not have because it's our local area. So that's, I get that maybe we shouldn't be asking, hey, are you going to be using this as an Airbnb? Because really the city's business whether you're going to do that. But from a neighborhood perspective, it might be important to us. You know, that definitely changes the intensity of it.
No.
That's just an example. It might be an improper one, however, but you can see that sometimes the city's concern may be different than the neighbor's concern or the neighborhood's concern.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, and that's why we're here. So we may be asking different questions than the city's zoning commission or BZA would be asking.
But I'm kind of with you on that, of why are we here? Because, like, I'll look at the Clintonville neighborhood plan that doesn't support the variance, but that, to me, that doesn't seem like a valid reason to say no. Like with that detached garage.
Some also, I think we have to look at the difference between our committees and the commission's business. Part of what we're doing is hashing through issues to help the commission reach a decision in 15 minutes instead of our hour.
Making sausage.
And the commission represents and the one thing commissioners can do more effectively probably is start showing up at the meetings. Because I'm the one who gets the notice of the city council and BZA meetings, and I really do my best to make a PDF of them the same day and send them to the commissioner of the district and the chair of the commission when I get them. I don't send them to all the commissioners because I try not to spam people. You can give people too much information. Although if they ever tell me they all want it, I'll give it to them all.
Gretchen brings up a really good point. I mean, if a variance comes before us and it's an ADU, and the only variance they're asking about is like 2 feet or 3 feet off the property line, why are we asking about bathrooms and
represent the community and all that other stuff, or is it solely about the variance? We should be asking, what do you plan on doing
add
with?
additional variances to it.
No, I'm not saying add additional, I'm just saying it should be about that 2 to 3 feet, you know, what are
Right,
you
yeah.
doing, you know, what about future, all this stuff?
Right, yes.
We're getting this.
Maybe we could specify.
Are you
that this-
are you matching the siding of the house? I mean, we ask
That's
questions
why,
that doesn't
why?
have to do
Why?
with. Why? Because it looks wonky if you got this over here and that over there.
Yes, you can do that.
No, I understand, and I don't think
Right.
you necessarily vote one way or another because of that, but you wanna kind of try to guide someone's decision-making on, oh, I guess I should try to
Think
match
about
the.
that.
So we should have clarity though, we should have clarity on, the difference between what it is we can influence, but the information that is influencing our decision-making should not necessarily be limited to that. We just need to understand what it is.
And also, I don't look at this form as something to do if we just have a BZA variance on side setbacks. This is for council variances when they're asking to do something different in this space than the law allows it. We're not talking, this form, if all they were asking for was a 3-foot to 2-foot setback.
This is not
No,
necessary.
this isn't the form, because like that person with the attached, keeping everything attached, you keep everything attached, that's, yeah. Man.
You notice the number of variances for those was completely different than what we would see.
The one thing that you all do is, in response to kind of what Diane was saying, it's historically, this committee has been a good neighbor guidance. It's not that you can't do this, but if you thought about if you do this, how are you going to clean the gutters? When you only have 1 foot, how are you gonna clean the gutters? Have you thought about it? And it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's an opportunity for you to give community information to that applicant, to help them go through the process, not only of the legalities, but also as a good neighbor. It's just a good neighbor practice.
I've always felt part of what our job is to help the applicant come up with the best possible application they have going forward. Because we are certainly not the last word on their application. So doing that, those little other things help them produce something that they have more of a likelihood of succeeding. I think that's part of what we're here for.
Historically, I believe that the committee has been a help, not a hindrance to an applicant.
No, and I just want to see if I could find our mission statement, but we are not a purely legal body. We are also not just a what do we think body.
Right.
It's a balancing game. We are supposed to give community impact, and if the community impact is city, you're not considering the right things. Sometimes we should cross that line and say, city, you're not considering the right things. And even though you've told us to stay in our lane, we think our lane should be bigger. We have some leeway to do it, but we also don't have unlimited discretion. We're not just a wait. What do we think? What do I like? We're not a what do we like committee.
I feel like based on these recent discussions, we shouldn't even be voting. This should be like, come talk about your application.
And that sounds nice.
Well, I think the voting though is a matter of accountability.
No, I think that's a good way to show what your thoughts on the matter were, regardless of the discussion. You know,
But I can't base it on the discussion we had, right?
Then you can abstain or give your reasons if you don't. That's also why we changed the way we did things a couple years ago, where any one of us can have in the minutes our explanation of why we voted. Because I think the commission cares about how we voted, but they also care about why we voted. A vote of 6-3 doesn't tell them anything. A naked vote of 6-3 doesn't tell them anything. Where someone says, I voted this way because of this, then the commissioners can look at it and say, oh, that makes sense to me, or no, that doesn't make sense to me. And that's also what the city is told us at the training they want the commission to do to them. They want the commission to do I'll try to say that, they want the commission to put in their standard recommendation for, here's why we voted yes, and especially here's why, some people voted no. And it's also a check to make sure that all of your voices get heard by the commission, and it's not Steve's report to the commission, everyone has their own channel. And also why I like having Michael as the vice chair, because Michael and I disagree about as much as anyone on this. And when he writes the minutes and I present them, the commission's probably gonna hear, is gonna get a balanced presentation.
They are. They need to have that.
No, I think that is an important part of our function, is also to help the applicants. We've seen more of these applications than they have. They're usually coming in here doing their first one for the most part, and they don't know what the process is. We bring that viewpoint of, hey, we've seen a dozen of these. And we also have that consistency in our opinions and our vote that we're sending to the commission and the city, in that this is what we've seen in our area. We like it because, or we disagree with this because, and there's our reasons. And that's really why the voting is important.
Have we ever disagreed on something that's not a commercial application?
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have a history all the time.
Here's what we put in our, here's what we put in our mission statement, which we'll have to reconsider, which goes up for vote again next year, I guess, is the mission of the Zoning and Variance Committee, treating everyone with respect. We will give applicants the opportunity to be promptly heard, community members the opportunity to meaningfully voice their opinions, and commissioners the information they need to make their final recommendation. And some of that information they need to make their final recommendation, so it depends. We can tell them we think you need this, but they also get to say what we need.
Yeah, it'd be good to get the commissioners' feedback on these comments and see if, when they hear our ADU applications or carriage house applications, are there other questions they're consistently asking that aren't covered in this?
Well, also, I think especially how few commissioners come to our meetings, how important it is to explain our votes. Because if they sat here and listened, they would know.
And who knows, maybe they could also be 8 of the 30 views we get. We could ask.
It is what I try to do and represent the comments that everybody makes fairly in the minutes, so that the questions can be seen. So.
I remember a time when half the commissioners would be.
I was thinking we need a controversy.
Always came to the meeting. Always.
Don't say that.
Not just my cases, because my neighborhood doesn't ever get very many cases, but I always want to just wash information over me, try to figure it out.
Good luck with your meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I do have a comment about this.
Thank you,
Mike.
Bravo, and thank you.
And one last comment. That's your last.
I do think you just nailed something right there, that you all need to send that message to those people that are sitting there on the December 5th one. Oh, well, we can vote. No, they need to sit here and they need to hear it. They need to understand why. Why would anybody care about a sewer? Well, in some cases we shouldn't, and in some cases we should. They don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. And I believe that I sent that message to someone last month when I said, I am so sorry that not one commissioner comes here and sits and hears what you all go through. You all ask more questions and do more work than most of the people on the commission.
By the way, if you know Sandy Sinbro, she was the chair of the committee when I was.
And the commissioner.
And the commissioner.
Now, I must be bored out of myself to be here.
Well, then, if we're done with the discussion, because once I call the meeting, we're not allowed to discuss it anymore. But any objection to adjourning? And the committee, without objection, the committee is adjourned at 8:35.